Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We're going to start off this evening with news around the world, specifically here in the United States, that affects everyone around the world. I want to start off with that. Then we're going to be talking about earthquakes. Specifically, in the beginning, we're going to talk about earthquakes in the Dokanese Islands of Greece, because there's over 200 earthquakes there today. 200 earthquakes there plus today. This is not anything new. There's been over 200 earthquakes there probably every day for the past 3 days. Before that, there was probably 20 to 30 earthquakes there every day for the past at least 2 weeks. That's a big topic. Okay, I'm not going to lie. It's a big, huge topic that we want to cover tonight. We have Juanito from El Centro, California here. Welcome, Juanito. We appreciate you being here. Now, as I said, we're going to be talking about some earthquakes here, but that's going to come in a few minutes. I first want to talk about what is happening to President Trump. The dadgum Democrats. David Thompson is asking how many volcanoes? A lot of volcanoes, guys. A lot of volcanoes. But before we get into that, okay, I want to talk about what's happening to President Trump. The Democrats here in Washington, D.C. and around this country are rebelling because President Trump is trying to help this country, okay? One such Democrat, I'm going to show you his picture here just to have a shake here. One such Democrat, his name's Al Green from Texas. Al Green from Texas. This man right here. He's causing a lot of heck and damnation against President Trump. Now, this man alone wouldn't be a problem, but there are many other Democrats as well, including Democrat Chuck Schumer, who is the Democrat minority leader of the Senate. Now, Al Green said today, quote, "I rise to announce that the movement to impeach the president has begun. I rise to announce that we will begin articles of impeachment against the president for dastardly deeds proposed and dastardly deeds done." Green is known in Congress as a bombastic, prolific speaker, as one of President Trump's most persistent Democrat critics. Al Green from Texas yesterday said he plans to introduce articles of impeachment against President Trump just 2 weeks after the new president was sworn in. 2 weeks. The president hasn't hardly had time to do much of anything but disembowel President Biden's doings to get the country back on track here. Ronaldo is asking about the Gaza project. Give me just a minute and I'll talk about that, okay? I'm going to talk about that. Someone is seeing the Red Cross in the background. That is my logo. That's not the Red Cross. That is my logo. Emergency Management Associates. Okay? You see that on all my inlaid photos at the beginning of the program. See it all over the place. Anyway, the effort that Al Green and Chuck Schumer have begun is certain to fail. But this is just one example, the latest example of the progressive Democrats trying to revive, I should say, anti-Trump resistance. They're trying to revive anti-Trump resistance. They've even taken it out to the streets. Okay, that anti-Trump resistance helped sweep President Trump into power during his last administration and his present. Okay, Senator Chuck Schumer, go figure. Senator Chuck Schumer's also been involved. Chuck Schumer hates President Trump religiously. Okay, I'm going to tell you that right now. Chuck Schumer hates President Trump religiously. Okay, let me show you a picture of Schumer. Here is Schumer out on the street yesterday, okay, condemning President Trump. It's incredible what he's also getting away with. Let me tell you what Schumer's doing, okay? It's unreal. The Democrats lost power. Okay? The Democrats lost power here in the United States because the citizens stepped up. The grassroots citizens here in the United States stepped up and said, okay, we've had enough. But Chuck Schumer's also stepped knee deep into his crap. The Democrat Party is so radicalized on abortion politics and other things that yesterday Chuck Schumer threatened Justice Gorsuch and Justice Kavanaugh. If they didn't strike down a simple, common sense, pro-woman law that simply says that abortion doctors need to have admission privileges to a local hospital. Republican Senator Ben Sasse said in a statement, quote, think about this. If a Republican threatened Justice Sotomayor or Justice Ginsburg, it would be the biggest story, not just in Washington, but all across America. But here, the minority leader of the Democrats, Chuck Schumer, he's out on the street employing bully tactics that are getting a lot of airtime. They're not getting as much airtime as if Republicans had threatened Sotomayor or Justice Ginsburg, women. Okay? But Chuck Schumer's bully tactics aren't getting as much press as they normally would because there's so many people in bed with his defense on abortion and his attack on independent judiciary. These bully tactics need to be stopped. Sasse's statement stems from comments that Schumer made while holding a rally today outside the Supreme Court, where Schumer called Justice Kavanaugh and Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Gorsuch, I want to tell you, Kavanaugh, you have released a whirlwind. You will pay the price, Schumer said of the justices, regarded as conservative members of the court. You won't know what hit you if you go forward with these awful decisions. The decisions were made last year, but Schumer's not satisfied. He wants to pound the justices now, and he's threatened them. Okay? Now, while Schumer was outside the court, the U.S. Supreme Court justices heard June Medical Services versus Russo, which is a case which abortion providers were challenging a 2014 Louisiana law. They're challenging a 2014 Louisiana law. Okay? It's incredible what they're doing here. That Louisiana law was a law that required abortion providers to have admitting privileges into a hospital within 30 miles of the abortion facility, in case one of their abortions went belly up, that they could get their patient into a hospital to get care. Representative Sasse, who's not the only notable figure to address Schumer's remarks about Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, President Trump, Missouri Republican Senator Josh Hawley, and Supreme Court Justice John Roberts also spoke out against Chuck Schumer. Meanwhile, Twitter followers also called for Schumer to step down, to resign from Congress, from the U.S. Senate, because of his comments out on the street yesterday and today. Justices know that the criticism comes with the territory, but threatening statements of this sort from the highest levels of government are not only inappropriate, they are dangerous. All members of the court will continue to do their job without fear or favor from whatever quarter. Trump said there can be few things worse in a civilized, law-abiding nation than a United States senator openly out on the street for all to see and hear threatening the Supreme Court or its justices. This is what Schumer did. He must pay a price for this. President Trump said he must pay a surface price for this. Now, Chuck Schumer is threatening the U.S. Supreme Court personally, to the point of implying that their physical safety is endangered. That's what he said of Kavanaugh and Gorsuch. Their physical safety is endangered. Disgusting, shameful, and frankly, weak. That's what Senator Hawley wrote today. Senator Schumer's The comments are disgusting, shameful, frankly weak. Hawley continued, I would call on Schumer to apologize, but we all know he has no shame. So tomorrow, Senator Hawley will introduce a motion to censor Schumer, just like they censored the Republican Adam Schiff over in, not the Republican, the Democrat Adam Schiff over in Congress last year. And now Adam Schiff is transferred over to the Senate, and Schiff is still doing the same thing, bullying candidates for President Trump's cabinet. The very same thing that Schumer's doing now on the street, Adam Schiff is doing in the Senate, just like Schumer's doing on the street. It's incredible. Schumer is very pathetic. Schumer and his pathetic attempts at the intimidation of the U.S. Supreme Court should not be tolerated. Senator Josh Hawley said, I would call upon Schumer to apologize, but we all know he has no shame. And like I said, Josh Hawley is going to introduce a motion in the Senate to censor Schumer for his pathetic attempt at intimidation of the Supreme Court justices. Now, let's talk about the government or Department of Government Efficiency. Okay? It's incredible what's going on here. Okay? Now, what do you think is happening with Doge? Does anybody have any idea what's happening with Doge? Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk were appointed by President Trump to manage Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. Okay? This is a picture of Elon Musk. Okay? Now, Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are attempting to turn things around in the government to make sure our money is spent wisely. Okay? They're trying to make sure our money is spent wisely. But Doge is facing a lot of blowback. Doge chief Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy and his allies have faced sharp blowback today for taking over operations in multiple government agencies over the last few days. It's gotten big. Okay? Doge has taken over the U.S. Treasury, the General Services Administration, and the Office of Personnel Management. Together, the three departments make up the backbone of the U.S. financial system, and they contain sensitive payment information related to trillions of dollars in federal disbursements. Now, Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk are trying to pare down the government budget. Right now, the government budget is $31 trillion in debt. $31 trillion in debt. These three departments are related to trillions of dollars in federal disbursements, as well as personal identifying information about tens of thousands of government employees. The Democrats don't like this. The Democrats are screaming to have rights, supposed rights, in making sure these departments are not taken down, and nobody's loses their jobs. President Trump, in a special enforcement order last week, ordered government employees to either resign. If they were not willing to come into work, they were ordered to resign or go back into the building where they used to work. But employees are balking at this. However, President Trump has offered them some substance here. President Trump has said, if you don't want to come back into the office, you need to resign. But if you take that resignation, you will have some recompense between now and next October. You will get paid between now and next October if you resign now. If you don't resign, you will be fired and you won't get anything. So a lot of people are taking that buyout. A lot of people are taking that buyout. Okay? It's incredible. It's incredible. Now, Mr. Martin, okay, he's big into this. He's very big into this. He's going to make sure that things are done by lawful means. Okay? He's very much into this. Now, Ed Martin, who's the acting U.S. attorney, said in a letter to Musk, I recognize that much of the staff of DOGE has been targeted publicly. At this time, I ask that you utilize me and my staff to assist in protecting Doge work and Doge workers. Any threats, confrontations, or other actions in any way that impact their work may bring numerous law violations. He also took a swipe at the Biden administration, saying his office will not act like the previous administration, who looked the other way as Antifa and Black Lives Matter rioters took over, as well as thugs with guns trashed the capital city. That's not going to happen. Republicans have repeatedly referred to Black Lives Matter protesters as thugs, and they suggested that they have been arrested over the George Floyd protests in 2020. President Trump and his allies have suggested without evidence that some of those who stormed the Capitol on January 6, 2021 were undercover FBI agents and Antifa agitators, and that has been proven now. It's been proven that some of those agitators in the January 6 storming of the Capitol were undercover FBI agents and Antifa agitators. Musk has also found information showing that Democrat fingers have been inside government expenditures where they should not have been. Government employees have also benefited illegally from these actions. Mr. Ed Martin's letter from the U.S. Attorney's Office mentioned last week's indictment of the former Federal Reserve senior advisor who is accused of stealing U.S. trade secrets to help China. Okay, this is what the Democrats did. This particular advisor, senior advisor to President Biden and the Federal Reserve, is accused of stealing U.S. trade secrets to help China. Musk and President Trump has shut down USAID, the United States Agency for International Development. That agency has sent U.S. taxpayer monies to other countries in the form of, quote, humanitarian aid, unquote. President Trump is and has been saying that America first up until now, and America has been last, but not any longer. Who's benefited from this Democratic help in years past? USAID has been 1% of the U.S. budget for years. 1% of the U.S. budget for years. That means $1 trillion a year. $1 trillion a year. That is just 1% of that money that we are over budget. Okay? It's been apparent. The U.S. aid is not an apple with a worm in it. What we have is a ball of worms. As Musk has said, you've got to basically get rid of the whole thing. It's beyond repair, and we are shutting it down. Now, let's take another step over to another incident that happened just the other day, this past Friday. Police have released the name of a man who was killed on the ground in Philadelphia when a medical jet crashed in northeast Philadelphia this past Friday. City resident of Philadelphia, Stephen Druitt, Dreuitt, 37, was found dead inside his vehicle after a plane crashed just before 6:10 p.m. on Friday. Several vehicles were traveling in the area at the time. 6 people inside the jet, including the child patient, a female pediatric patient, her mother, a flight doctor, and a flight nurse, and the 2 pilots were also killed. All of them were Hispanic from Mexico. All of them were from Mexico. Jojo is asking, am I reading something? I'm reading some of this commentary that I put together before I came on this air. Okay? Pam Miller says, poor guy in the wrong place at the wrong time. I agree. I totally agree. Yes, Stephen Druitt, please rest in peace. God be with you until we meet again. Now, the plane crash also injured a total of 27 other people in Philadelphia. Now, that's not all. Numerous homes, 27 homes were burnt and damaged from the flying parts of the plane that crashed into the road and one of the malls, the Roosevelt Mall in Philadelphia. Now, let's talk about the Washington aircraft crash. Okay, that happened a week ago today. That happened just a week ago today. In fact, it happened a week ago in about 10 minutes. Okay, as we reported last night on one of our posts here on YouTube, all 67 people have been recovered and identified. All 67 bodies have been pulled from the wreckage and out of the water and have been identified. The Unified Command said that the medical examiner's office is working to ensure the dignified returns of remains to their families, and they continue supporting the families through this process. Now, with all that said, the wreckage recovery continues. Let me show you a picture of the wreckage recovery. Okay, as I reported last night, this picture was taken from Reagan National Airport. This is one of two different cranes, mobile cranes on barges working in the Potomac River to help recover the bodies and the wreckage. And as you can see, they have a piece of the fuselage of the plane that crashed into the river last Wednesday. Okay, they're continuing, and the Unified Command has said that they hope to have all parts of the wreckage of the airplane recovered by tomorrow. Wreckage of the helicopter, they hope to have it out of the water by Saturday. They hope to have that wreckage out of the water by Saturday. They're hoping. Okay, they're working on it. Now, this is a big recovery effort. It's huge. Hundreds of families are in mourning after the American Airlines regional jet collided with U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter on January 29th, with both aircraft plunging into the Potomac River near Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport in Washington, D.C. No one survived. No one survived. And Pickering's here in the chat saying that was another disaster, 2 in less than a week. Love to all. I agree. Thank you, Ann, for that comment. I totally agree with you. Love to all the families. Hundreds of families have been affected by that crash. Hundreds of families have been affected by that crash, and I'm sure even more affected from the Pennsylvania crash as well. That's not the only thing. Okay? Another aircraft on the ground crashed into another airliner today. There's tail damage, significant tail damage to one of the aircraft. This is on the ground. It didn't even have a chance to get in the air. This time it was on the ground. The pilots aren't paying attention. I believe the pilots aren't paying attention. It's sad. In Washington, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers expects to remove all parts of the American Airlines plane by tomorrow. The crane operations will then shift to removing the helicopter and clearing up any large debris in the remaining debris field. 64 people were on board the plane, which departed from Wichita, Kansas, to land at Reagan National Airport on runway 33. 3 soldiers were on board the helicopter. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy announced on social media that Elon Musk and representatives of his Department of Governmental Efficiency team are going to plug in to help upgrade our aviation system. Before this crash took place, you had a consolidation of 2 aircraft controller positions, one for helicopters and one for aircraft. Those positions were consolidated into one before this crash took place because one of the air traffic controllers had to leave early. So now they're going to look into this. Sean Duffy, the Transportation Secretary, said he's going to look into the policies and the procedures inside the tower. Duffy said the investigation will also examine military helicopter operations around Reagan National Airport and potential changes to improve the safety in the area. Duffy said that they will consider whether military helicopters should be restricted to different times of the day or whether they should be flown at all in that area. We have to take a real look at the safety around this airspace and the airspace around the country. Again, we can fly training missions at different times of the day and night. And if we have generals who are flying in helicopters for convenience through this airspace, he said, that's unacceptable. Get in a damn Suburban and drive. You don't need to take a helicopter. We need a whole upgrade of the airspace. Duffy said the department will announce a plan soon on addressing the shortage of air traffic controllers. Now, as I've stated before, on 2 different occasions of this broadcast, they were about 7 people short when this disaster happened. The air traffic control tower is 7 people short. That's been very typical for years now. That's been very typical for years, and they're going to address it now. Unfortunately, it's a week late and $1 short. Okay? But in response to Duffy's remarks, the National Air Traffic Controllers Association said it welcomes the opportunity to work with the new Transportation Secretary on improving the recruitment and training of air traffic controllers and the retention of highly qualified air traffic controllers to help address the chronic staffing issues. Now, many other pilots have warned of the safety concerns around Reagan National Airport for decades. Pilots and air traffic controllers notified authorities about airplanes and helicopters flying alarmingly close at Reagan National Airport in at least 15 different incidents dating back to 1991. Since 1991, over 34 years ago. 34 years ago. Some of those reports warned that the flight space was an accident waiting to happen, with others describing scenarios eerily close to what occurred when a military Sikorsky Black Hawk helicopter collided with the American Airlines plane last week as that plane approached the airport. Okay, as I said before, the National Transportation Safety Board said that they recovered the black box from the airplane. And that black box said that at the last minute, the pilots recognized the helicopter was too close, and they pulled up the nose of the airplane to try to get out of its way. But it was a day late and $1 short there. John Nance, a former Air Force pilot, said one of these incidents would have been too many. One of these incidents would have been too many. The National Air Traffic Controllers Association released a statement Tuesday reaffirming its support of air traffic controllers in the United States. Quote, as we have stated before, all air traffic controllers, regardless of race or gender, are well-trained and highly skilled, dedicated professionals who keep the national airspace system safe and maintain its efficiency on behalf of all Americans. Becoming a certified professional controller, a CPC commission, is not an easy feat. It requires rigorous training, mastery of complex systems, and the ability to perform under immense pressure. We have performed these duties while working short-staffed, often 6 days a week, 10 hours a day for years at a time, with outdated equipment and facilities that are in many cases more than 60 years old and long overdue to be replaced or modernized. That's according to Air Traffic Controllers National Organization. This is before suggesting that the focus of its members should be redirected towards working to ensure that they have the staffing and the infrastructure the staffing and the infrastructure necessary to bolster aviation safety. That's what they actually need to do at this point in time. Bolster aviation safety and make sure they have the staffing and the infrastructure necessary to do it. Now, I was sorry to hear this past week after this accident happened that a lot of the equipment that they have are 40 years old or older. Okay? Our air traffic controllers are working with equipment that's 40 years or older, and other countries have even better equipment than we do. That's pretty sad. That's very sad. Now, does anybody have any questions about this or anything else that we've talked about tonight? I'm happy to address those issues tonight, right now. Charlie May, you say one incident is too many, lives lost due to human error. I agree. And now we learn the facts as we hear the blame and the rhetoric. Outdated equipment, short ATC staff, working 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. That position is very stressful, just as stressful as any police officer on the street. Working 6 days as a police officer is illegal. Working 6 days as a police officer driving a vehicle is illegal. You cannot work any more than 8 hours a day driving a police vehicle. So why then do we have air traffic controllers working 10-hour shifts 6 days a week? That is, excuse me for my French, it's asinine. That is completely asinine, guys. It should not happen. It should not be happening. That's got to stop. Pam Miller says, hey, Heather, she got herself a new laptop. That's great. That's great. By the way, I have someone that's helping me work on this one to get this back up and running so I don't use this device. So I don't have to use this device. Does anybody have any questions? Naaman Aveyah says the air industry is actually wild. Just look at Boeing. Two whistleblowers about planes not working properly, mysteriously die in their homes. Isn't that interesting? How Boeing can get away with that? Get away with taking out two whistleblowers. It's incredible. Money talks, I guess. Money talks. But it's sad that we lost two whistleblowers because someone decided that they don't belong. They don't belong. What a crock of crap that is. Okay? It's insane. It really is insane, guys. Now, let's go back and talk about earthquakes in Greece. Okay? As I showed you last night. Look here. We have 200 plus earthquakes in Greece. 200 earthquakes over here in the Dokanese Islands today. I've been listening to this all day long. We've actually had another 5.1 large earthquake over here in the Dokanese Islands today. A large 5.1 earthquake. Okay? Now, what I want to say about that, along with that 5.1 and other earthquakes that have happened here, they've all have been downgraded. Within minutes of the earthquake, they've been downgraded. What does that say? They're hiding evidence. They're hiding evidence of the earthquake. They're downgrading the heck out of these earthquakes. Unreal. Now, this earthquake right here, this is a 3.6. This was a 3.9 earlier. This was a 3.9 earlier. Let's try to zoom in here and look at some of these other earthquakes here. Look at all those earthquakes. It said 20 plus earthquakes. I'll bet you there's a lot more than that. Let's go up here. This is a large earthquake. I'm sorry, that's not it. That's a 2.9. Again, they downgrade these earthquakes to the nearest 0.9. This is a 5.1. the 5.1. Let's look at some of these others here. This is a 2.6. This is a 2.7. This is the 3.1. That's a 3.6. Up here to the north, a 3.3. All these in the Aegean Sea. This is a lot more than 20 earthquakes, guys. This is a lot more than 20 earthquakes. Unreal. Unreal. There's over 200 earthquakes here today. Now, as I said, Santorini Island has been evacuated, as have other islands around here in the Dokanese Islands. There are remnant skeleton crews staying on the islands to make sure that nothing happens. Soldiers of the army there of Greece are on the ground here manning first aid stations and tents set up in case something happens. Okay? They're taking care of their own. Okay? Most of the people that live on these islands here have been evacuated to mainland Greece. They've been evacuated to Athens, Greece, which is right here. Okay, they've been evacuated, all of them. But as you can see, Greece has its own earthquakes here. For example, this 2.4. This is a 2.1. This is a 2.1. This is a 2.6. Let's go over here to the Aegean Sea here. This is Patras, named after the Apostle Peter. 8 miles north-northeast of Patras. This is a 1.0. 1.0s, 1.6s, 1.5s are found all over this area on a regular basis. That's normal. Let's look at these others. That's a 0.9 microquake. This is a 1.5 tremor, 0.9. This is a 1.7. That's normal in this area. Let's go north here. That's a 2.0 earthquake, minor earthquake there. This is a 2.3. This is a 3.2. 3.2 there. Let's go over here to the Western Islands off the coast of mainland. This is Argostoli. This is a 1.3 here. Let's go down here. This is a 2.6. This is typical here in the Western Islands west of mainland Greece. Over here to Western Greece here, this is a 2.1. Okay? Yes, over here in Athens in this area, they've seen large earthquakes here. Now, going north here, right up in this area right here. Right here. This area here has had large earthquakes. About 3 years ago, we had a 6.0 earthquake right here. A very strong 6.0 earthquake here in northern Greece. That happened in the mountains here. Now, there are towns, as you can see here. There are towns here. When that 6.0 hit, there were deaths, casualties, and injuries here, and buildings got demolished by that earthquake. Greece and some of these other countries do not have the same building standards that we have here. And as a result, when these huge earthquakes, and to them a 6.0 earthquake is a huge earthquake. We can say by definition that a 6.0 earthquake is a very strong earthquake. It is. But a 6.0 of them is a very devastating, heartfelt earthquake. It kills people. It devastates everything that they stood for. Everything they have gets destroyed. Okay? Okay? This is what's going on. So that's what's happening here in Greece. Now, let's go over here north of there. This is Albania. This is a 2.9 earthquake. 2.9 minor earthquake. Up here, we have a 3.0 small earthquake. 3.0 small earthquake here in Montenegro. Let's go further north here. Okay, this is Croatia. We've been having earthquakes here in the Croatia area for years. This is the 1.4 tremor here. Let's go over here to northern Italy in the Alps Mountains. This is Veneto, Italy. This is a 2.0 minor earthquake here. This is a 1.1 tremor here. Okay, we have earthquakes over here in Greece here here in northeastern Greece here, and over here in northwestern Greece right here. Okay, this is Piedmont, Italy, 1.7 tremor. This is 1.0 tremor. This is France, okay, on the other side of the Alps here, western side of the Alps. This is a 2.50 near Castellane, Provence, Alps, Côte d'Azur, France. France. This is the region of, what shall I say? This is a region of very much affluence here. A lot of money. Okay? A lot of money. This is the tourist trap of France here. Okay? This is the tourist trap of France right there. Let's continue here. Okay? Over on the northern parts of the Alps here. This is Switzerland. This is 1.4 tremor here in Switzerland. This is also in Switzerland. This is a 1.0 tremor here. Okay, Basel BS, Switzerland. Up here in Germany, 1.0 tremor here in Germany. You remember during the past few days that we've used this EMSC map here. This comes from My Earthquakes app. On this app, we've seen 2.0, 3.0, and 3.5 small earthquakes here in France and Germany. Okay, right here. Agen, Nouvelle, Aquitaine, France. And I know I butchered that. That's a 2.1 earthquake here. Over here, it's in the Rhone area of Alps, France, a 2.1. Okay, right here. This is a 2.2 earthquake, minor earthquake here. We go up here, just across from England. The English Channel is also right here, okay? Plagine, Berlange, France, a 2.4 minor earthquake. We've been having a lot here. Let's go over to England here, okay? This is Stonehenge, England, United Kingdom. This is a 2.0 earthquake here. We don't normally see earthquakes here in England, so today this is rare. A 2.0 minor earthquake over here in Stonehenge, England. Let's go north here. Okay, this is Scotland. The 0.3 microquake. Right here, also in Scotland, we have a 2.2 minor earthquake. Again, we don't normally see this in England. This is news. This is news. England does have earthquakes. They are few and far between, but they do happen. They do happen. We have several people on this channel that are from England, that live in England. One of our own mods here, Demon Catman, lives in the east of England. Okay? We have people here in England on this channel. Now, let's go further north. Okay? I want to go back to Sweden. Okay, yesterday we told you about a shooting that happened here in Örebro, Sweden. Okay, 10 people were killed, 5 people injured. The police here in Örebro, Sweden are investigating it. Örebro, Sweden is approximately 125 American miles south or northwest of Stockholm, 200 kilometers northwest of Stockholm. We have earthquakes here quite frequently. This is Västergötland. I shouldn't say Jutland. This is Västergötlands. Okay? This is southern Sweden. I shouldn't say southern. South central Sweden. Västergötlands. I used to live over here in Trollhättan, Sweden. Today had a 1.4 tremor. Nobody feels tremors. Nobody feels minor earthquakes, except very, very sensitive people. Nobody felt this earthquake at all. This was just a tremor. Over here in Norway, this is Telemark, Norway, a 1.6 tremor here. Let's go over here to northern Sweden. This is a 2.0 minor earthquake here in northern Sweden. On the other side of the mountains, we have Norway. This is Sweden. The other side of the mountains, we have Norway here. Over here, we have Russia. Over here, we have Finland. Okay, Finland. We have an earthquake here. Okay, this is in the Russian part on the Russian side of the Finnish border. This is a 2.4 earthquake here. 2.4 earthquake here in Russia along the Finnish border. Okay, let's go further north up here. Over here in Iceland. Okay, northwestern Iceland. This is Borealis, Iceland, a 2.2 earthquake. A 2.2 earthquake hit here. Now this is normal. This is getting to be very normal. Okay, just a 2.2 earthquake here. Down here, this is where we've had most of the earthquakes and the volcanic eruptions here in Iceland. Okay, all over here. Okay, this is normal up here as well. We see earthquakes here occasionally. This is a 2.2 minor earthquake here in northwestern Borealis, Iceland. 2.2 earthquake here. Now, I want to say this as well. Right here, over on this peninsula here, this is a volcano. Down here, okay, down here, we've had a volcanic eruption here about 4 years ago. Now that volcano has pushed its way, that magma underneath the ground have pushed its way northeast here, okay? This is where the volcano first erupted 4 years ago, okay? Now, we've had further eruptions that we've covered here, okay? As I said before, let me move this down a little bit. Okay, we had the volcano that originally erupted right here. The magma has pushed its way north here, all the way north in here. We've had eruptions along the way during the past 3 years in this area. This is Grindavik, Sweden, or Grindavik, Iceland here. Okay, about 2 years ago, right here, we had numerous volcanic eruptions here. About one eruption every 3 or 4 months. Holly? Holly? Crystal, stop. In case those of you that are new don't know, we have 2 dogs here. The oldest one by a few months is Holly. Crystal is our other dog here. They keep each other company. They're great sisters. Occasionally they get riled up, as you can hear. Hold on a second, guys. Holly and Crystal, knock it off. Knock it off. Sorry about that, guys. Yes, name unavailable says she's creating her own earthquake. Yes, I agree. Anyway, the magma from the original volcanic eruption over here in the peninsula over here crept its way all up underground as pushes its way north. Again, Grindavik, Iceland is right here. During the past year or so, we've had numerous eruptions right in this area. Last year, a year ago, January, we had volcanic eruptions here around Grindavik. Those volcanic eruptions have pushed away north. The last eruption was right in here. Yesterday we told you about earthquakes right up in here. I believe that the magma that we have underground over here, north and west of Grindavik, has made its way north here. I believe that's why we're having earthquakes here. I believe that's why we're having earthquakes up here. Okay? Now, let's move out here. Okay? The only earthquake that we were having now is way up further here to the northwest. Okay? But we are continuing to see earthquakes over in this area moving their way north along the Mid-Atlantic Fault. The Mid-Atlantic Fault comes out of the North Atlantic Ocean here and goes through Iceland. It literally divides Iceland in half. It literally divides Iceland in half. And at some point, even the volcanic eruptions, at some point, the Mid-Atlantic Fault is going to expand and separate Iceland. The Mid-Atlantic Fault is going to separate Iceland at some point. I don't know whether it's going to be in our lifetime, but at some point, the Mid-Atlantic expansion here is going to expand and cut off one part of Iceland to the east part of Iceland. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Now let's move north with earthquakes here. Okay, right up here. Okay, this is way out into the North Atlantic. Actually, this is the Arctic. This is the Arctic. Let's move in here and show you these earthquakes here, and then we'll go further north. Folks, this is a 3.9 earthquake here. That's a 3.9, upper side 3. Still a small earthquake, but not yet a moderate quake. Okay, this is near Jan Mayen Island in the North Atlantic here, and I actually believe it's the Arctic. Okay, right here, this is a 4.2 moderate quake here. 3.9, nearly a 4.0. This is a 4.2 here. Okay, moderate earthquake. Right here, this is a 4.0. Right here, we have another 4.1. So here we have a 3.9, and I'm going to consider that a moderate earthquake, 4.0, because we know that the agency downgrades the quakes. So in all reality, we have 4.0 and above moderate earthquakes here near Jan Mayen Island here in the North Atlantic here. Let's go further north. Here we have a 3.9, 4.0 here. This is Svalbard. Near Svalbard here in the Northland here. Okay. Svalbard belongs to Norway. Svalbard Island belongs to Norway. Here we have a 4.0 earthquake here. This happens quite frequently now. Quite frequently, I'm talking about at least 3 or 4 times a year, we have earthquakes here near Svalbard. Okay. Further north, we can't go. This is actually the Arctic Circle up here, the Arctic Circle up here, and up above that is the North Pole. Up above that is the North Pole here. Okay, but we have earthquakes way up here to the north here. Okay, I want to make sure everybody knows about that. Here we have Greenland. So far, we haven't had too many earthquakes here on Greenland. I think maybe 2 earthquakes within the last 6 years that we've been doing this program. Okay, but no earthquakes here in a while here on Greenland. Let's go further south here. Reno, Ohio. Reno, Ohio. Let's zoom in here. Reno, Ohio. This is where I live here in North Carolina. Folks, I believe this earthquake here may be part of the New Madrid Fault. The New Madrid Fault comes down here in the Gulf of America here and runs north up here to the Great Lakes. However, I believe the New Madrid Fault also stretches up here to Ohio. And if so, this is a New Madrid earthquake. A minor 2.4 earthquake up here in Reno, Ohio. Yes, it says 1 mile east-northeast of Reno, Ohio, but guess what? When that happens, I'm going to tell you right now, this is in Reno, Ohio. Okay? Now, we come down here to Oklahoma. Right here, we have several earthquakes here in Oklahoma. We can take a moment to talk about these. Okay, this is 1.9 in Prague, Oklahoma. This is an oil and gas earthquake. This is right smack dab in the middle of an oil and gas operating field here. Let's zoom in here. I'll let you take a look at this. Oil and gas all over this area. Now, this is an oil and gas pumping operation here. We have another here. We have another here. And right next to this roadway, we have even another. This is an oil and gas pumping operation quake. Fracking. A fracking earthquake. Okay? Meaning, what are they doing? They're pumping wastewater down into the hole. They drill down there to get oil and gas out of the hole, and they're pumping wastewater in there. When seismic energy goes across the continent, when the seismic energy goes across the continent from east to west, it hits these man-made drill points. It hits these man-made drill points, and guess what? We have earthquakes. Fracturing a rock in the drill, in the hole, causing earthquakes. Man-made earthquake faults. That's what we have here in Prague. This is not the only earthquake that we've had here in Prague in a long time. Many, many earthquakes happen here almost every day. Almost every day here in Prague, Oklahoma. Let's back out here. We have 3 other earthquakes here in Oklahoma to talk about. Actually 4, 5, right here. Let's talk about this one first. This is Dibble, Oklahoma. Yes, this is a tremor. A 1.48 tremor. You can already see the drill points here. Drill points everywhere. Every one of the square or rectangular platforms here is an oil and gas pumping operation. Right here, more down here, and even more up here in this area. Oil and gas fracking earthquakes. Dibble, Oklahoma, 1.48 tremor here. Yes, we have tremors, but we also have minor earthquakes and full-blown 3.0, even 4.0, 4.5 earthquakes here in Oklahoma. There are 585,000 drill points here. 585,000 pumps and jacks all over Oklahoma. Here, this is Cole, Oklahoma. This is 1.3 or 1.53 tremor. This is 1.37. This is 1.16. Again, you can already see the drill points here. They're everywhere. This is an oil and gas pumping operation field. Okay, tremors all over Cole, Oklahoma. One further north here, Bridge Creek, Oklahoma. Now let's come up here. We haven't had any earthquakes to my knowledge here ever here in Bridge Creek, Oklahoma. This is a minor microquake. Let's zoom in here. Okay, you can see where we have drill points. Okay, a drill point here, a drill point here. I believe we have drill points here and here. And also another drill point here. Okay, where we have drill points, we have earthquakes. Okay, now I want to point something out. Drill points do not have to go exactly straight down. They can go perpendicular like this. They can go horizontal like this. So we could actually have a group of earthquakes stretching horizontal like this in any direction. Or they could go perpendicular like this into the ground like this, or straight down. But everywhere where we have a drill point, everywhere where we have a man-made hole seeking out oil and gas, we're going to have fracturing rocks here causing earth movement, i.e. earthquakes. This is also an earthquake oil and gas pumping operation field here. 586,000 pumps and jacks all throughout Oklahoma. We come down here to southwest Texas. We're having earthquakes here. This is Forsan, Texas. 5 miles west of Forsan, Texas. This is 1.1 tremor here. This is 1.4. We come further west here. This is Midland, Texas. 1.2 tremor here and a 1.7 tremor here. Let's go further south here to the west. Okay, this is Fort Stockton, Texas. I believe 6 months ago, we had a 5.0 large earthquake here near Fort Stockton, Texas. This is a 1.6 tremor here. It's a 1.6 tremor. I believe this is an aftershock of that earthquake. Okay. Over here, further to the northwest here, more oil and gas pumping operations here. This is Toyah, Texas. 1.7 tremor here, a 1.5 tremor here. This is another 1.5. Culberson County, Texas. 1.6. This is 1.7, 1.6, 1.4, 2.2. Those were tremors. A 2.2 is a minor earthquake. 2.2 is a minor earthquake right here. This is a 1.5 tremor here. Van Horn, Texas. Now, I know how many pumps and jacks we have in Oklahoma. Texas is about 4 times the size of Oklahoma. If we have 586,000 drill points in Oklahoma, imagine how many we have in Texas. Thousands upon thousands, hundreds of thousands of drill points all over Texas. And yes, we have earthquakes all over here all the time. All the time, every day. Okay, let's back up here. Let's go north and west here. Okay, this is Emory, Utah. Central Utah. This is the 1.6 tremor here. This is Hiawatha, Utah. A 1.48 tremor here. Let's zoom in here. I want to show you what's going on here. Okay, the Wasatch Fault. This is a huge fault zone. The Wasatch Fault comes out of southeastern Idaho right here. It goes all the way down here into northern Utah. Okay, it comes over here to the east of the Great Salt Lake and east of Salt Lake City here. This is the Wasatch Fault. What you also need to know, we don't have any earthquakes here in northern Utah to speak of, except right here. I shouldn't say in northern Utah because northern Utah is all this area here. This is also south of Salt Lake here. This is Saratoga Springs, Utah. Saratoga Springs, Utah. This is a 1.21 tremor. 1.21 tremor here, okay, just south of Salt Lake. Now, what you also need to know, let's go up here. This is Wyoming. That's a 1.18 tremor here. Let's go north here. This is Virginia City, Montana. Yes, we see earthquakes here. 1.32 tremor there. This is 1.0 Helena, Montana. 1.0 tremor here. This is Troy, Montana. A 1.89 tremor here. Now, let's go back here, okay? I want to show you this. This is West Yellowstone here. This is West Yellowstone here. You see the geysers here? You see Yellowstone Lake here. Geysers here, Yellowstone Lake here. Okay, just south of there. This is Alta, Wyoming. 1.18 tremor here. Now I'm going to tell you right off the bat. There are more earthquakes listed, or not listed, but earthquakes that are happening here. Just because they show earthquakes here doesn't mean that this is all the earthquakes here. Remember, this is also Yellowstone geysers area. Yellowstone magma channel. I should say the Yellowstone magma chamber. The Yellowstone magma chamber is 11 Grand Canyons in size. 11 Grand Canyons in size. This earthquake here, northeast Montana. Folks, the Yellowstone magma chamber comes up here to the Canadian border and goes all the way down to northern Utah. All the way down here to northern Utah. Okay, it also goes out here. It goes out here to Idaho. It goes out here to Idaho. Okay, yes, we have earthquakes out here in Idaho. It goes all the way out here to the Canadian border, goes out here to Idaho, and comes down here to northern Utah, and comes back up here into Yellowstone. Again, the Yellowstone magma chamber is 11 Grand Canyons in size. It's huge. I'm sorry my hand keeps drifting here when I'm showing these quakes. The Yellowstone magma chamber is 11 Grand Canyons in size and encompasses this whole area. That's what you see here. But just because we show you these earthquakes, these are not the only seismic events that are happening here. They're only showing you what they want us to know about. Okay, let's go up here. This is Troy, Montana, 1.89 tremor here. Yes, we have had earthquakes here in Idaho. Okay, but they're again not showing those either. Let's go further over here to the west. Antioch, Washington, northeastern Washington. Guys, just because you don't see any volcanoes here doesn't mean there aren't any volcanoes. This area is a volcanic area. This area is very much a volcanic area. Look at these rivers here. This is an earthquake fault. Where you see rivers, underneath the rivers are earthquake faults, almost entirely the time. Right here, Antioch, Washington, we do have a volcano here. Just because it doesn't show a volcano doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Over the years, hundreds of thousands of years, okay, the weathering, the humidity, the rain, the snow, and even the glaciers that used to frequent this area cut down the mountain here, cut down the volcano. The volcano exists down below the surface here. Okay, this is all basaltic lava here. This is all basaltic lava. This earthquake here may or may not be due to seismic events. It may be due because of magma. Antioch, Washington is very much a volcanic area. 1.47 minor tremor here. Okay, let's move on. Okay, let's go further here to the north. Maple Falls, Washington. It says this is 6 miles north of Maple Falls, Washington. This is 1.64 tremor. 1.64 tremor. Now, folks, guess what we also have here? We have Mount Baker. Mount Baker here as well. Yes, there are earthquakes and tremors at Mount Baker, but again, they are not showing those to us. They are not showing those to us. Okay? Maybe tomorrow I'll wake up my maps here and I'll show you seismograms of where the volcanoes are and the earthquakes are hitting the volcanoes. And if I have time, I will come over here and show you seismograms of this whole area. Olga Island, Loomy Island, areas all throughout this area have earthquakes. But again, they're not showing them to us. They're absolutely lying to our face. Lying to our face. Olympic Mountain is here. This is also volcano. Olympia. Okay? Right here. This is Shelton, Washington. As you see, this is a 0.75 minor microquake. A microquake here. Let's go further down here. Okay? This is Mount Hood. For the first time in weeks now, they've actually shown us a microquake here at Mount Hood. This is Mount Rainier. Mount Rainier is here. Here at Mount Hood, they're showing us a 0.07 microquake. However, there's not just a 0.07 microquake. There's hundreds of those. There are a bunch of minor tremors and minor earthquakes here at Mount Hood today. Okay, all over this area. They're not showing anything at Mount Rainier. There are earthquakes all over Mount Rainier. Mount St. Helens. Earthquakes all over Mount St. Helens as well. They're not showing any. Mount Adams the same way. Bachelor Mountain. Sisters Volcano. Down further south to south central Oregon, we have Crater Lake. Crater Lake, there are hundreds of earthquakes and tremors here all over Crater Lake, and they're not telling us about it. They're not talking about any other things that are going on, but there are. Earthquakes all over Washington and Oregon that they're not even talking about. Promise you guys. They're not talking about much of anything here. Okay. And I should have showed you this before over here. I showed you up in the North Atlantic up here, earthquakes here, but over here, okay? This is over near the Mid-Atlantic Fault. The Mid-Atlantic Fault stretches from South Sandwich Island way down here in the South Atlantic all the way up here. But over here, this is the North Mid-Atlantic. Now, we do have islands over here that connect with the Mid-Atlantic Fault here. These islands are called the Azore Islands. The Azore Islands stretch over here from South Portugal all the way out here. This is a 2.0 earthquake here, okay, in the Azore Islands. This is also here a 2.0 here. There are earthquakes here, okay, quite honestly, earthquakes here. Off of Portugal here. This is a 3.6 earthquake here. South of Portugal right here, we have another 2.1 earthquake here. And yes, folks, we do have earthquakes here in Spain as well. Here in Portugal. This is over 1.6 tremor here. Okay, let's go down here. The Canary Islands are also still showing activity here. Let's go out here. Okay, this is out in the North Canary Islands here. This is La Palma Island we talked about yesterday, where we had 3 tremors and 1 earthquake here at La Palma Island. Okay, again, the volcano here at La Palma Island stopped erupting at the beginning of last year. It erupted for about 8 months, something like that. Up here in the North Canary Islands here, we have a 2.9 3.0 earthquake. 2.9 3.0 earthquake right here. This is a 1.7 tremor. This is a 1.6. Los Pasales, Canary Islands, a 1.6 tremor here. This is quite typical of the Canary Islands here. Now, we're still talking about the Mid-Atlantic Fault. Come down here into the southern part of the Mid-Atlantic Fault here. Let's move this over. This is a 5.1 earthquake. This came out as a 5.1 earthquake. You notice that they downgraded it to a 4.9. The 0.9 society is alive and well here. Richard Smith is here from Canada, Nova Scotia, Canada. He's saying here that seismic energy is paving major earthquake highways deep in the earth, and traffic is getting very bad. Richard is absolutely right. Now, down here in the South Sandwich Islands, we have 5.0, 6.0, and even 7.4 earthquakes that occur down here in the South Sandwich Islands. When we have earthquakes here, that energy follows the Mid-Atlantic, or not the Mid-Atlantic, I'm sorry, the fault line here. This is Antarctica here. This is the Antarctic fault here. When we have earthquakes here in the South Sandwich Islands, that seismic energy follows the Antarctic ridge here and comes up here into the Mid-Atlantic. Here we have a 4.9. It was a 5.1 earlier. Yesterday we had a 5.3 here in the South Sandwich Islands. Okay, that energy is transferred up here now. Okay, over here in South America, see all these earthquakes here? There are about 40 earthquakes here in South America, stretching up here from central Chile and the Chile-Argentine border right here, all the way up here into northern Colombia. About 40 earthquakes here today. Over here, this is near Easter Island here, off the coast of Chile here. This is near Easter Island here. This is the southwestern Pacific Fault. The southwestern Pacific Fault. We have a 4.6 earthquake right here. 4.6 earthquake right here. Okay? Now, let's go further over here into the South Pacific. Let's go to talk about Tonga again. Yesterday we had three earthquakes here in the Tonga region. This is the large 5.0 earthquake here. This is 93 miles east-southeast of Niapu, Tonga. Niapu, Tonga is one of the islands here in Tonga. This is a large earthquake. Nobody felt this on land. The Pacific Ocean waters absorbed the shockwaves of this quake. Now, let's go further south into New Zealand here. Look what we have here. Up here we have the Kermadec Islands. This is a 3.87, almost a 4.0 earthquake over here in the Kermadec Islands. The Kermadec Islands belong to New Zealand. There are no occupants of the Kermadec Islands except for birds. The Kermadec Islands are a bird sanctuary. Further south here, okay, this is still part of New Zealand here. This is the 3.03 earthquake right here. We have a large earthquake right there. That's a 5.03 large earthquake. This came out as a 5.4. They downgraded this here as well. Right next to it, we have two other earthquakes, aftershocks. This is a 3.86, and this is a 3.50 earthquake here. Okay, just south of the Kermadec Islands. Over here, okay, this also is a 2.81. This is the Fiji trench here. This is the Tongan trench. Both these earthquake faults come out of Fiji and over here in Tonga. Fiji and Tonga trench here. Okay. Now, why am I making a deal of it? Because, folks, guess what? The Fiji trench cuts the North Island of New Zealand almost in half. This is over what we call the catcher's mitt. This is called the catcher's mitt here. We fondly refer to as a catcher's mitt. This is a 2.81 earthquake, minor earthquake here. Come further down here. This is a 2.36. Okay? Now, this is the Bay of Plenty here. Yes, we refer to it as the catcher's mitt, the Bay of Plenty. Right here near Adelaide, or not Adelaide. No, this isn't Adelaide. This is Waikato, New Zealand here. This is a 3.1 earthquake here. Now I want to come back down here. Notice that Fiji fault zone, that ridge, okay, comes all the way down here. This is Ruapehu volcano. Ruapehu volcano. Just north of it, we have a supervolcano right here. A supervolcano here. It's called Taupo Lake. That's a supervolcano. This is a 2.41. This is a 2.41 minor earthquake right next to the supervolcano. And this earthquake may be related to the supervolcano. Again, they don't want to show us all the tremors and everything else that are going on here. Rarely do they do that, except when the tremors are so overwhelming. That's when they talk about it. Last year, they talked about Taupo volcano because, number one, it's a supervolcano, and number two is because there were a lot of tremors and other earthquakes here at the volcano. Again, all of the volcanoes around this earth are awakening. All of the volcanoes around this earth are recharging. They're recharging. North of Taupo Lake, these are minor earthquakes. 2.24, 3.04 small earthquake, 2.93 minor earthquake, 2.89 minor earthquake, 2.83 minor earthquake. Okay? There are villages and small towns all over this area. Again, this is Ruapehu volcano down here, just south of Taupo Lake. There's another volcano out here, right here, near Tarongi, New Zealand, at 2.39. South of there, folks, this is a Cook Strait. This is called the Cook Strait, this body of water between the North and the South Island of New Zealand. A 2.41 minor earthquake here, and this is a 2.32 here. Usually we have 4.0s here in the Cook Strait, right here. This is 3.18, this is a 2.37. Over here, Marlborough, New Zealand, a 2.21 minor earthquake here. And up here, 2.75, 2.23, and over here, Mount Ajax, New Zealand. This is a 2.29 earthquake here. We go down here to South Park, south of New Zealand. This is a 4.77 moderate earthquake here. A 4.77 moderate earthquake here. It's all along this fault zone. All along this fault zone. This is the edge of the plate here in South New Zealand. This is the edge of the plate down here in South New Zealand, and it connects with this ridge here. Okay? It's all part of the big scene here. Okay? Now, this earthquake fault again is part of the Fiji Trench. Part of the Fiji Trench here. This is the Tongan Trench. The Tongan Trench stretches from Tonga all the way down here on the east side of New Zealand. This area off the eastern side of the North Island is said by scientists to be due a very large, very strong, very dangerous major earthquake here. It's going to be a subduction earthquake here, just like we're going to see in the Pacific Northwest. This is going to be a great, big, huge subduction earthquake. They're expecting that earthquake to happen within the next 25 years. An 8.0 earthquake right here on the Tongan Trench. The Fiji Trench, while it goes down here through the North Island of New Zealand, it comes down here and makes contact with the Tongan Trench. The Tongan Trench cuts the south part of the island here and goes all the way down here. That's why we're seeing this 4.77 earthquake here. That's why it's happening. Okay? Now, let's go over here. Again, we're having an earthquake over here in the Loyalty Islands here. Okay? That's a 3.8. Let's go further north. This is Vanuatu. Vanuatu. Just a few months ago, we had a 7.4 earthquake here. A 7.4 major earthquake here. It caused some casualties. It caused about 200 injuries and leveled part of the downtown area of Vanuatu here. One of the islands of Vanuatu here. Okay. This is a 4.9 large earthquake here. This is the 3.4 small earthquake here. That is a 3.7 small earthquake. Right next to is a 2.7. Earthquake up here. Also 2.7 earthquake. 2.7 earthquake. Let's go over here. Southeastern Australia here. Southeastern Australia. 3.07 earthquake. We had a 6.0 earthquake in this region 2 years ago. 2 years ago, a 6.0 earthquake in this area here. Over here to the west here. Let's go over here. This is the 3.5 earthquake here. 3.5 small earthquake here. Now, we're not going to take a lot of time talking about Indonesia here, but you can see all the earthquakes here. USGS is not even going to show us but 2 earthquakes here in New Zealand. Look at all the earthquakes here, or not New Zealand, I'm sorry, Indonesia. They're only going to show us 2 earthquakes here in Indonesia. Look at all the earthquakes. Philippines, 3 earthquakes up here near Mindanao, Philippines. More earthquakes going up here into central Philippines and over into Luzon Island, Philippines, right here. 3 earthquakes in Luzon, Philippines right here. Taiwan, let's talk about Taiwan real quick. There's a 4.1 earthquake over here in southeastern or southwestern Taiwan. That is an aftershock. That is an aftershock of a 6.0 earthquake hit that hit here about 2 weeks ago. It's a 6.0 magnitude earthquake that hit here 2 weeks ago, and now we see this 4.1 moderate earthquake here today, an aftershock. An aftershock. This just hit here a couple hours ago. Okay, China. Pure Yunnan, China. 3.0 minor earthquake or small earthquake. 2.0 Myanmar. We have Vietnam over here. We have Cambodia and Thailand. Up here we have Myanmar, what they used to call Burma. This is a 2.0 minor earthquake here. Now that fault that comes out of Indonesia comes up here. That's why we have earthquakes here. Okay, this is the edge of the plate. The edge of the plate comes over here, the Himalaya Mountains. That's why we have these earthquakes in the Himalaya Mountains. Okay, this is Tibet. 4.1 moderate earthquake here, a 3.9, 4.0 moderate earthquake right there. Okay, that's China. They're not showing any earthquakes over here in Tajikistan or Afghanistan. I'm sure there are earthquakes here. Earthquakes over here in southern Iran as well. They're only showing this cache of earthquakes here. 4 earthquakes here in southern Iran. This is 3.9, 4.0, 3.5, 4.1 moderate earthquake, another 3.6. Again, this is the edge of the plate here. The edge of the plate. Okay, up here. Western Iran, a 3.4 small earthquake here. This is the Caspian Sea. The Caspian Sea. Do any of you have any questions about anything we're seeing here? MSC is asking me about, can I comment on the Asian Sea? Let's go over here again. Okay, we've been talking about a lot of earthquakes here. What is happening here? We keep having earthquakes. Even while we've been here on the air, we keep having earthquakes over here in the Aegean Sea. Okay, these islands here belong to Greece. These islands here off the coast of Turkey here, the western coast of Turkey, these islands are called the Dokanese Islands. You see all these earthquakes here? We've had over 200 earthquakes here. Okay, now, again, I talked about this earlier. Linda Covington, I'm sorry you have to leave. I hope you have a good night, and thank you for being here, sweetie. Linda Covington is a dear friend of ours. We appreciate her being here. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great night. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Three sneezes gets me money. I hope. Anyway, guys, here in the Aegean Sea, this is crazy, guys. This is crazy. Each of these islands are volcanoes. Each of these islands are volcanoes. Now, while we do have earthquake faults here, let's come back over here. This, folks, is the Anatolian Fault here, coming out of the Turkey-Syria border region. You see 10 plus earthquakes here. Guess what? These earthquakes are aftershocks of a major earthquake that hit here 2 years ago. February 3rd, 2 years ago, we had a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake hit here. Okay? As you can see, these earthquakes here are aftershocks of that. This fault zone here comes out of the Turkey-Syria border region, comes down here south of Corsica here, okay? All the way over here. Yes, we have earthquakes here in northern Turkey, southwestern Turkey here, and out here in the Dokanese Islands. Each of these islands are made by volcanoes. I believe what we're seeing here are volcanic quakes. I believe what we're seeing here are volcanic quakes, guys. Quite honestly. Do you have any specific questions here? Charlene is saying it is minus 30 degrees there where she's at. That's very, very cold. Any specific questions about these earthquakes over here in the Aegean Sea? I understand people are very concerned. I would be too. I'd be very concerned. They have evacuated many of these islands here, and rightly so. It keeps happening. Santorini and various other islands here have been evacuated. They have skeleton crew, military people here to make sure things are not raided by people that want to loot the area and stuff like that. Also, the Greek army here has also set up medical tents, just in case there are people left here on the island that they can take care of them. Minus 11 in Nova Scotia. Holy crud. That's cold. That's very cold. Potato-tarian is from California. Glad to have you here. You just subscribed. That's awesome. That's awesome. When you subscribe, also right next to the subscription button, you're going to see a small bell button, a tiny bell icon. Click on that. Click on that. When that happens, you're going to find a drop-down menu of 3 items come up. Click on the word ALL, all. That should get you subscribed and notified when we come on the air. During the week, we come on the air between 6 and 7 p.m., Monday through Friday. We came on the air tonight just after 6:30. Between 6 and 7 p.m., we come on the air almost every day. Yes, sometimes it's later, but not often. Not often. Notice all these earthquakes over here in Greece as well. Mainland Greece right here. Don Patoka says he just unsubbed and resubbed and hit all. Yes, folks, sometimes you have to do that. Why? Because YouTube doesn't like to notify you when we come on the air. And also YouTube unsubscribes people. So people, if you're unsubscribed, please resubscribe. Check your subscriptions, and if they've unsubscribed you, resubscribe to this channel, and also hit that notification bell and click all. Sometimes you have to do that. Scooter's asking, are there any worries of tsunamis? That was a question from yesterday, and my answer is no. Tsunamis are going to happen when you have an earthquake of 6.5 and larger. So far, that has not happened here in the Aegean Sea here. It has not happened here in the Aegean Sea. Okay? 6.5 and larger, it could happen. Not always. We actually had a 7.0 up near Alaska this past year, and it did not create a tsunami. It did not create a tsunami. So it is possible that you can have upwards of a 7.0 and not even have a tsunami. But here we're not having any tsunamis. The largest earthquake we've had here near Santorini here was a 5.38 that happened yesterday. Okay, but you can see here there are plenty of earthquakes. And because there's all these earthquakes, there's a very likely chance that we're going to see more large 5.0 and large earthquakes here in this area. Okay, it's likely to happen. I appreciate all of you that have come in here and seen this channel and subscribed to this channel. It's very much appreciated. Also, Charlene is asking, any earthquake along the African rip zone? I'll show you this, okay? Let's back out here. There's nothing showing. That does not mean it hasn't happened. Just because we don't have any earthquakes here in the East African rip zone doesn't mean it didn't happen. They don't tell us about everything that's going on. We have to go find out. Joe G says he was thinking of going to Athens in 3 weeks. Should or not? It's a toss-up here, okay? I can say I probably wouldn't do it, but that's not saying anything, okay? If you go over here to the map here, over here in Greece, nothing's going on. Here's Athens, nothing's going on. But it's a possibility. All that we've seen earthquakes happen over here near Athens all the time. It doesn't mean right now that it's not going to happen. It could. Now, most of the time, all we see are minor tremors here. Minor tremors. Nobody feels minor tremors. Minor tremors are 1.0 to 1.9. Occasionally, we will get a 2.0, 2.5 minor earthquake. But again, even 2.0, 2.5 are not usually felt. The only earthquakes that you're going to feel, definitely you're going to feel, is anything over 3.0, 3.9. Those are small earthquakes. And larger than that, you are definitely going to feel those. And larger than that, you can see some damage. 4.0, 4.9 are moderate quakes, regardless of what USGS says they are. USGS is now labeling 4.0, 4.9 light earthquakes. They have no business doing that. Up until this past year, they were labeled moderate earthquakes. Now they're calling them light. As I've explained to most of the people here throughout over the years, the only reason they're turning them light now, or calling them light now, is because they do not want us to know what's going on. They want us to believe that those are light earthquakes, nothing's going on. However, I have seen 4.5 earthquakes in Los Angeles cause major damage. I've seen 4.5 earthquakes in Los Angeles cause major damage. So they can't tell me that they are light earthquakes. I don't believe that. I won't believe it. I just won't believe it. It's not true. Joseph G says, sorry if you've already covered this. Could a tsunami happen in Athens? Very unlikely. Again, those earthquakes that we've seen over here in the Dokanese Islands here, are just minor tremors, most of them. Small earthquakes, moderate or minor earthquakes, and yes, there are a few moderate 4.0s. Tsunamis typically happen after we have an earthquake of at least 6.5 or greater. 6.5 earthquake or greater. I do not think we're going to get that anytime soon. It hasn't happened in quite some time. It has not happened in quite some time. The last time we had a 6.0 earthquake right up in here was about 2.5, 3 years ago. It caused major damage in this area. It killed people and injured people right up here in northern Greece. Jan USMC, thank you for being here. We appreciate you here. It's great. It's very wonderful that you guys are here. Now, if anyone wants to contribute to donations to this channel, you can do so. You can either do a super chat here on YouTube, or you can go to our, just below this video here, we have the top of our program description. Within 5 or 10 minutes after this program is over, you're going to see more of a program description than you see now, which is almost nothing. That's because using this device is not allowing me to put a program description in here. Okay, but I promise you there will be a program description there within the next 5 or 10 minutes. At the top of that program description, you're going to see a way to be a member of our channel. Okay, there's already a link for a membership of our channel at the just below this video here. Just below that, you're going to see our email address. Yes, you can email us your questions and things here, your concerns, to our email, and we will answer those. Right below our email address, you're going to also find 3 other locations. You're going to find 4. First off, you're going to see our mailing address, 104 North Green Street, Box 105. That is 104 North Green Street, Box 105. Morganton, Morganton, North Carolina. The zip code here is 28655. You're going to see that, and you're also going to see two PayPal addresses and a Venmo address that you can use to send us donations to our channel. We greatly appreciate that. If you want to send us a card and letter to our post office box, again, 104 North Green Street, Box 105, Morganton, North Carolina. Zip code here is 28655. You can slip a check or even cash into a card or letter. Make sure the cash is wrapped up in letter paper so that nobody sees it. And also any check also, you can slip a check or cash into a card and send that as well. It happens all the time. And we greatly appreciate it. We greatly appreciate it. I may be needing more money quite soon to buy another computer if this computer can't be fixed. I do have somebody I may be calling sometime in the next 15 or 20 minutes after this program is over to try to see if we can solve the problem with our computer. But we may need some help with paying for it. And I greatly appreciate anybody that wants to donate to help us get a new computer to use that to do this program with. We greatly appreciate that. I want to tell you thank you for all that you continue to do for us, for subscribing to this channel and finding out what's going on in our country and around the world. Yes, we do cover worldwide events. It happens every day. We appreciate everybody that comes here, that helps contribute to this channel, and anything else that you want to talk about, please let us know and we'll answer your questions, just as I've done tonight. I want to thank everybody for being here. God bless you. May God be with you this day and always. Tomorrow we're going to have more of a devotional after this program is over. Usually every night we have a devotional, but because I was coming on a little bit late, I haven't had a chance to put together a devotional for tonight. But tomorrow night we'll do that. I want to thank you for being here again. God be with you until we meet again. Have a great night. If there's anything else that happens tonight or in the morning, we will be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Otherwise, we'll be back on the air sometime between 6 and 7 tomorrow night, Thursday night, with more information. Arnold Smith says Kerry Holman is the only man he trusts for computer technology stuff. I agree. He's the man I'm going to be talking to in just another few minutes. Again, thank you very much for all being here. God bless you. God be with you until we meet again. Have a good night, everybody. Much love. See you soon. Good night.